This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 821 for the week of Monday, June 10th, 2024. It's SGS week, so my name is Steven.
And I'm Greg.
And we got Simba here. I'm touching him, bothering him. He doesn't want to meow. That's fine. He wants to bite me. Yeah, it's SGS week, so this is our question and answer focused off week for the manga, and we're here to use our combined expertise as translator of the manga. And I don't know, what would you say your official position is?
One Piece guy.
One Piece guy, yeah. Professional writer, translator yourself.
I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Fingers and lots of pies over there. So we'll let's see. We have no manga this week.
I'm sorry. That probably sounded like way more shady than I intended it to at all.
You want to try again?
I do various things for One Piece over here. No more questions. Yeah. Oda needs something taken care of. They call Greg. I'm a One Piece fixer.
I'll just jot that one down. All right. So, what do we got this week? There's been some interesting. Probably the most interesting piece of news, which I think we did talk about on last week's podcast, is this that One Piece is coming to the Sphere in Las Vegas. Did you see this, Greg?
What is the Sphere?
Oh, you have not. You have been away from the United States for too long. I see. The Sphere is a monstrosity that they built in Las Vegas, by the Strip, and it is a colossal. It is a sphere, and it's like on the inside, it's like an IMAX, like planetarium style theater type place where they have concerts and stuff like that. But basically, on the inside and on the outside of the sphere, the whole thing is just a screen. It's a giant screen. And so they are constantly like showing stuff on the outside. So like if you're in your hotel room facing this sphere, like it's just constantly like lighting up and doing weird, like it'll just look like an emoji that's animated and making faces at you and stuff like that. I've not been to Vegas in the few years since they built it. So I don't know what it looks like in person. But they are having some kind of I believe it's a concert in the Sphere for One Piece. Let me make sure. I'm just going to type this into Twitter here. It is going to be the first anime ever to debut on the largest screen of the planet, the Vegas Sphere, on June 10th. So that's that's today when this episode is released, apparently.
So have they made it look like the Super Boss from Final Fantasy IX yet?
I don't know. They've done a lot of concerts and weird events and things. Lots of audio visual spectacles. I think they're going to. What is it that they're actually doing? They might be playing some episodes or something like that. It is a 4-hour block, apparently. Okay. And it's going to be happening from the 10th to the 16th. So, I don't know.
This probably means Oda wanted to go to Vegas again. So
I was just going to say that. I was like, I mean, if he snuck out to LA for that, Santa Monica Pier preview of the live action show, then I feel like this is right up his alley. A sort of one of a kind experience.
I think he deserves to soak it up as it gets recognition around the world as much as possible.
Sure.
So good for him. Good for him.
Yeah.
All right, the Sphere. This is new info. Well, one thing I can say about this is it's definitely nice to see One Piece increasing its sphere of influence.
Oh, good. I like that. Let's see. I don't know if there's a lot of other news other than some of the recent releases. I know the magazine is out. I have not gotten my copy yet of the Zoro and Sanji stuff. I believe that has some. Yeah, I'm sure it has like interviews with Nakai and Hirata, yeah, and some other folks as well. I'm sure, but I'm looking forward to digging into that. This was also announced previously, but we do have we're officially translating the Heroines novels. The little female-centric short stories that were publicized or serialized, I should say, in the magazines. Those are going to be getting an English release, I think next year. So it's not going to be particularly soon, but look forward to that. Usual podcast stuff. We have another show coming up at the City Winery later in August, I believe. We've been talking about that for a while, and we'll continue to do so. So you've probably heard us mention it by now. So tickets are available for that. I don't know. I don't have any other preparation as far as news goes. So how are you feeling, Greg? Shall we? Do you want to go over the chapters? Do you want to start with questions? Let's call an audible here. What are we doing?
How am I feeling? Well, Stephen is being very polite here. Because I woke up this morning to do the recording, not feeling ill, but having a very sore throat. Basically, every word that leaves my mouth feels like gargling glass. So it's super fun. So Stephen is being very kind, but I'm an adult and I'm a professional, so we're going to do this. We're going to do it proper, and okay. We've had some good. Chapters here, so I guess we'll discuss. I don't know how many chapters it's been. How many? What we got? Two? I don't think 3. 2? All right. 2. So 1,115 and 1,116.
That's right.
And what a pair of chapters they were, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll take a very quick break here, and we'll get right back and discuss our thoughts on those 2 chapters.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Hi, I'm Steve Yerko.
And I'm Tara Sands. Now available from Maji Media is our new podcast, 4 Kids Flashback. 4 Kids is the company who brought you the English dub of Pokemon in the late 90s and so many other shows like Yu-Gi-Oh!, Shaman King, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kirby, the infamous One Piece dub, and so many more.
We'll be talking to the people who worked at 4 Kids. Actors, directors, writers, editors, producers, engineers, you get the point. And hopefully get the answers to questions both you and I have about the company.
I actually worked there as a voice actor on some of the shows.
And I was a kid watching the shows and remember way more than Tara does.
And thank God for that. Steve is actually a professional storyboard artist, which gives some really unique insights into anime and animation. Subscribe today wherever you get your podcasts. That's the number 4 Kids Flashback.
Do you think he talks to other cats and it's just like, my owner's the fucking weirdest guy. I'll just be sitting there minding my own business and dude's like fucking bam. And then he always, again, 5 seconds later, bam. What the fuck do you think is up?
Yeah, well, it's a mutual thing because he'll try to wake me up when I'm sleeping, so we just mess with each other. This is the manga recap for chapters 11-15 and 11-16, our most recent batch of chapters. And boy, we are right. We are still in the thick of this info dump from Vegapunk, which seems to be still ongoing. I'm not sure how much we're going to have left, but it has lasted longer than I honestly expected at first. And I guess I'll give a quick synopsis here, and then we'll go through point by point with whatever you'd like to bring up. So in 11-15, Vegapunk describes the ancient war between Joy Boy's country and the 20 Kingdom Alliance. We see a variety of folks like Fake Luffy, who is now Fake Kid, Duchess, Carrot, Foxy and his gang, Koshiro, Genzo and Nojiko, Roshio the Executioner, Dalton and Kureha, and Miss Golden Week, Merry Christmas, and Valentine, as well as other people who have been on more recently, so don't need to bring them up. Ethan Baron v. Nusturo slices through the Labophase basement, which somehow causes the agents and Seraphim to fall out. Vegapunk says that the sea level rose 200 meters in the past and that all of these islands were once part of larger continents. The cause was man-made, achieved by ancient weapons who await their reactivation because the War of the Void Century continues to this day. And then in 11-16... Vegapunk explains that the Mother Flame, his attempt to create infinite energy for the betterment of the world, then apologizes that it was used to power the weapon that destroyed Lulusia. Stussy asks to free Kaku, and Edison says her attachment to her friends and inner conflict over her orders is a sign of humanity. Vegapunk says that the only ones who know the whole truth are the Pirate King's crew. York realizes that Vegapunk hid the transmission snail in the protection of the Iron Giant, and in a drunken stupor, Rayleigh chides Vegapunk for trying to spoil the fun for the young'uns. So yeah, a lot of people in these chapters, and it was funny. One of these chapters we had on the ADR director for Crunchyroll now, who directs the dub stuff, or at least he did before. I think he's moved to a different position now. But and I got the chance to ask him, what do you think when you see like a chapter where there's 50 characters and most of them are old characters? And he was just like, "Oh, I panic. It's just a nightmare because you got to call everybody up and see who's still acting and all this stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds like a lot of work."
Yeah, and I'm sure Oni Productions over here, just seeing yen symbols go up, for all the thesps they have to gather together.
But it's fun for us.
Yeah, it's I've really enjoyed how he has throughout this entire exercise in exposition. Been able to thread in reactions from around the world, because that plays into another one of the themes and ideas I've had for many years is like everybody in the world needs to be involved in whatever this final conflict is. Everybody needs some way to have been pulled into it, whether they know Luffy or not. It needs to be a worldwide event. Because that's what we're working our way towards. I think we mentioned it a little while ago. We now have the Marvel Skybeam in the series. It exists. So yes. We do need this to be a world level event. And one of my initial ideas for the connection of the world, what would bring people together, was to have Luffy using a almost genius level of observation. Which one is in English?
Observation.
Observation. Okay, thank you. Using a genius level of observation to be able to communicate to everybody on Earth, and what he would communicate, how he would communicate it, I didn't really know. But What I needed to know was that in some way, or what needed to happen for the series was that in some way, everybody on these impossible to connect islands needed to be aware of the same information at the same time. And Vegapunk has been the man to do that, and really no other better person than a genius level observation hockey user to be doing that, because it's such a difficult task, and as we can see, how hard the world government, or basically the five elders, are fighting back against doing something like that, connecting the people, which is so perfect for the Hitotsunagi theory.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see that I was wrong in one sense, in that the initial trigger for what unites the people will not be Luffy. But I still maintain that once everybody is gathered, there's going to be some way, because everybody's going to, when I say gathered, I don't think everybody will be in one static location. But there will need to be some way to communicate to everyone that the battle has been won, the day is saved, the world is ready for change. And I do wonder if that can be accomplished through that means. I will still hold on to that. Luffy being the connection to people. So in one way, a theory of mine was quote unquote wrong. At least the method through which it needed to be conveyed. However, there was something in this chapter that, and I conveyed this to you and I read it, how overjoyed I was. Was the fact that the weapons were responsible for basically creating the world as it is, and in essence creating the Grand Line. That is something that I've been onto for a very long time. In that the world didn't always look like this. There had to be a what I thought was another continent that made the world look like a giant X. Whatever the case may be, I strongly felt that the weapons were involved with worldwide, not only devastation, but remodeling of the land itself. And that is indeed what has happened, and I was just over the moon. I don't know how many years it was ago that I came up with the X theory for X marks the spot, but it's been quite a while, and just to see that actually play out is so just satisfying. And there is no way in hell that I can tell Oda, because it would just piss him off. It's, and like, this is probably a Japanese thing. I don't know. I'm living over here too long, but it's just like, got to read the room, and dude hates having his work be predictable. So I think like the knee jerk reaction is like, you want to be like, Oda, I totally knew that you were going to do the thing. And like, that just has the exact opposite like effect on poor Oda. He's just like, I didn't do my job, and like, I didn't surprise you. So I will never convey that to him, but I am extremely happy that this is how this turned out.
Very. Yeah, and it's not. I mean, maybe this is just me, but like, I think my version of that, or like the thing that I always remember is, the Legend of Oars, right? The Kingdom Puller, and like, oh well, if he was like, moving kingdoms around somehow, then maybe there's a whole category of things that happened in the story to bring this about. And it's not, it's not a full picture here. Like, he says, okay, well, the sea level was previously 200 meters lower. But we don't necessarily know what those continents looked like or what else may have happened. It's still just kind of a broad stroke of information for us to kind of ponder and to try to fit into what we know about the world of One Piece. But there's still room for more details to learn about, which is exciting, and probably something we won't find out until maybe the four poneglyphs are together, and we know what the X is going to look like and all of that stuff.
Yeah. More questions answered, and more questions provided, as any good author or storyteller will do. I am happy, though, to see that he's tying up quite a lot with this. I don't know if necessarily providing more answers than questions, but it is certainly a healthy and enjoyable amount. A friend of mine, after reading this chapter, said, like, wow, exposition piece. And I said, yeah, I agree with you, but I do believe that he's earned it.
Yes.
He's earned the right to do this, because he's taken his time, and a lot of the previous chapters dealt with the action, the movement, in addition to what's happening off island, and how reactions are being portrayed off island. And he did that very methodically. So yes, I do think he gets to get a little bit talky when revealing one of the biggest secrets of the series so far. Not only that, but I argued that also there are some fantastic character moments in here. I mean, that's aside from the great action that's also occurring in the background.
Right.
But me personally, and I think I told you this, Kaku seeing what Stussy does and how loyal Stussy is being, that's pretty big to me, because it conveys that we've always seen that characters like Kaku and Lucci are, while Lucci follows instinct and he's learning what he's lived, I don't think that he is as evil as someone who wants to inflict pain. Lucci wants to legally pursue what his fruit powers are begging him to do, to be a hunter. Which is a weird way to try to fight for him, but I would say that he is not as evil as someone to say like Enel, who was just willing to throw lives away in order to accomplish his goal. Kaku is another one who he does not seem to enjoy inflicting pain, because it almost seemed, if I'm recalling correctly, almost every scene where he is inflicting pain on someone and we see his face, he either has muhyojo, which is just like he's deadpan,
blank,
or he's looking grim. And these two guys, I swear to God, I think Oda really, really enjoys them, and I think that this is a good signal for a change in both Kaku and Lucci's loyalties. Because I don't know, I just get the feeling that there's a reason that he's sitting there with a question mark, wondering why she's making this decision. I mean, he's taking it all in, he's doing his job, but I do believe that this is a panel that we'll be able to come back to, and a scene we'll be able to come back to and think, and recognize that is this what planted the seed that led to this decision later on in the series. Because when push comes to shove, I do believe that if given the choice to support the Straw Hats, or take them down when it means the fall of a great evil, I do think that those two in particular would help the Straw Hats stand on them rather than push them down. That's a bit of a diatribe, but it's just that one scene in there just giving me that idea. That's why I think this is more than just an exposition chapter, because it does raise those kind of questions. Yeah, and it's tempting to just look at it as, okay, well they were together in CP9 and they were doing these sort of
cruel and callous things for the sake of their mission, and then they got beaten, and then they were on the run, and all this stuff. And then when they come back as CP0, it's sort of tempting to kind of write them off as like, oh, they went right back to doing, it's almost like Bellamy, like you went back to the source that got you beat the last time. So it is interesting that he's still willing to sow the seeds of a character turn for them, even though we've seen we've seen them humbled before, and then wind up in basically the same position.
Yeah, I don't know. I hold out hope for them. I really do. I don't know why. I think I can't explain it, but it just seems that Oda even has a hard time hating these two characters or wanting to portray them as evil. I don't know where that stems from. I think maybe from his time on Water 7 because of how friendly they were. I mean, right. What would be their ultimate ending, right? Like, what would be the ultimate, not turn, but like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not resolution, but like their rebirth kind of story.
Yeah. Well, on our episode yesterday, I think, last week, Steve was sort of joking, but I think it works. Is like, it's Kaku basically saying, oh man, like, I went back here. Now we got these giant monsters that are apparently the guys that we're fighting for, and everything's topsy-turvy. And I liked being a carpenter. Like, I was good at that. I liked working on ships. So, yes. I could see him going back to Galela or doing something similar.
Precisely. Yeah. It would be, if they turn, and if they turn, they need to make a massive sacrifice. They've made some sacrifices here. They have supported the Straw Hats here, but I mean, ultimately they're still doing their job. But if they make some sacrifices, then they are ripe territory for either going into shipbuilding for themselves, or going back to Galela if Galela would have them. That would be heartwarming. I would like to see that. I would throw my hat in the ring for that. But let's see. I'm also bowled over by Stussy's loyalty here and how she's torn between two worlds. Mm-hmm. My God, and that's not even including like what she thinks about who she is as a person, right? As a clone.
Yeah. It's interesting because like it's the sort of thing there's so many things going on in this arc as is true of pretty much any arc, but I think it is kind of in Oda's character to have characters, or to have people who are maybe like you can see an angle to their background and who they are. In Stussy's case, meaning like that she is a clone, she's a copy of someone else. That's a huge theme that could be the thesis of an entire manga or entire movie or whatever, a book on its own. But this is, it's One Piece. It's not Blade Runner. It's not Ghost in the Shell or something where, we're really going to dig deep into what is Stussy's humanity. She is just kind of a side character and a bit of a curiosity in this arc. But it is nice that he's able to take a little bit of time, just a page or two here, to raise that question and to touch on that and just to remind us that he's not necessarily taking it for granted that that this is an important part of the character of Stussy here, Stussy the clone, at least not Miss Buckingham, and giving a nod to that and allowing that to be a little bit of a character moment, even if it's destined to not be a big theme in the arc overall.
Yes. Yeah. That is precisely why I said, even though this is exposition, he's still doing his thing. He's still being Oda. He's still giving us the characters first, even though this must have been quite the chapter to translate. You earned your pay on this one.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Text-wise, yeah. I think that was my big takeaway from this one. I enjoyed the character moments. The I don't know. To me, the funniest thing in the chapter was Demolo Black going over changing pirate crews.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great.
And something far more simpler, but the cover story is just I'm reminded of how much I enjoy these kind of these RPG cover stories, because we really have not had one of this nature in quite some time.
Yeah.
I don't know why I always come back to the Hachis. Hachi is like probably the ultimate. I don't know if he'll ever outdo that one, because it was literally like, gets this thing, goes here, gets this thing, goes here. Whereas, this is there was a goal in mind, but it's more, greeting people and seeing people and allowing us to see the many faces of Wano. So that's cool. I do enjoy it. This is more like I don't know, Animal Crossing as opposed to a Dragon Quest.
Yeah, sure.
I am just reminded here, though, because considering the heights of everyone involved, because this is Kiku, right? No. This is a Hiyori. This is Hiyori. Okay. Right.
On the first one, making the lunch. Yeah, that's
Hiyori. Okay. I always have to remember heights are so important, because Yamato must be very far in the background, considering Yamato's height. So,
right.
Also, it's just hit me, considering Hiyori. I don't know if anybody uses Twitter anymore or so on Twitter, but Hiyori brought this to mind. When she did her whole Oiran walk down Wano, we went to Kyoto recently, and my wife got to do an Oiran photo session. And it was absolutely insane. The photographer, the makeup artist, everything were amazing, and they took like 50-something shots over like 3 hours, and they taught her how to pose and do this and all this sorts of things. And I was, meanwhile, being a tourist. I was walking around outside like big dumb white guy, like, I'm in Kyoto and I'm alone, so I don't look like I know what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, we came back. We chose a couple photos and got them, received them, and wow, they're pretty cool. If you got a chance, check it out on Twitter. I put it up, I don't know, about a week or so ago. But super fun. Glad I got to see my wife as Hiyori cosplay for a bit there.
Yeah, super cool. Actually, on the topic of cover stories and old characters as well, I was just looking up, because I remembered as I was writing up the little summaries of the chapters, and I remembered it was the panel with Miss Golden Week, and you see her, and it's like, obviously, okay, that's Miss Golden Week, but you don't see the faces of any of the other people that are with her. And so I remembered, reading the chapter, and I was like, maybe that's, there's two other women who are very close to her. Maybe that's, Miss Merry Christmas and Miss Valentine. And so it actually wasn't until, like an hour or two ago that I was like, wait a minute, I need to look this up. I need to double check, because I remember Miss Merry Christmas being in a princess dress. Yes. And yeah, you go back and you look, and apparently in the 2 years since, they have not changed any wardrobes. They're still wearing the same stuff, which is great. But yeah, it's the exact same outfit that we see Miss Merry Christmas wear, and then Miss Valentine was she was like the barmaid or
the chocolatier, I think, or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the chocolatier. Yeah, but she's wearing the same type of bandana that that Paula does, the Miss Doublefinger.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking Miss Valentine. I was thinking Miss Valentine, but yes. Wait, is it?
Yeah, that's Miss Valentine.
Oh, that is Miss Valentine. Okay, but she's wearing Paula's thing. Okay, interesting. I did not. Oh, because because
she has a little head thing. Yeah.
All right, so you know what hit me as weird, and so like, why are they dressed like that? Because they're living their dream, which is great. Like, good for them. Mm-hmm. But it also threw me off because I was like, wait a minute, but when Miss Golden Week did it, she gave herself like the Dali like mustache kind of thing.
The mustache, yeah.
And I was just like, oh, what does that symbolize? Like, why is that off? Did she lose it, or I don't know. Mm-hmm. But she still has the apple hat, so that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. And also, good to the person who picked out Roshio.
Yeah. I did not pick that up the first time, but yeah, it's
once again,
him.
Oda refusing to kill off even his side villains.
Yeah, his jobbers that were there just to make Bellamy look better, or look worse, as depending on your perspective.
I do like to see though, and this reminds me of old One Piece, is the dude or the lady that's upside down flipping up into the air in the panel. Is, my God, he did that all the time.
Yeah.
And like, I don't remember any recent scenes of that, so it's cool to see that once again. I mean, in one of the most outrageous places, Mocktown is famous for laughing at people and whatnot, but still cool to see that.
Yeah, that used to be a big thing. That and like just people like clapping in the strangest ways with like, with laughter.
Yeah.
Just doing the weirdest reactions to stuff.
Oh, let me ask you something. This is maybe an awkward question, I don't know, but what did you think about what's his name? Venus? I think it's Venus.
Venus Stro, yeah.
His slice here?
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about that?
My first thought was like, okay, so he sliced through the thing. I think I interpreted it in the way that Oda intended you to interpret it, which was like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, wow, cool, like big giant slice. I can see the little cross section of the lab, and then everybody falls down. Okay, all right, that makes sense. And then when I went back and looked at the scene again and was trying to figure out like, wait, how is this working physically? Then I was confused because I think what he intends for us to believe is that when he slices it in two and the agents are all on the underside, they're below the cut, as you can see where they're pointing up at it. And then I think that bottom half of like the cloud and everything is between the panels that we see it's supposed to have flipped over entirely like 100 degrees, 180 degrees and dumped them out. But it just seems like such a dramatic and awkward like reaction to have happened. And we don't see that actually happening. It's just, we see them, they're standing in the lab in one moment and then they are falling upside down towards the ground in the next moment. And I'm not sure if there's going to be an elaboration on that in the anime or not. But what did you think about this?
Okay, let me ask you a question before I can answer that.
Okay.
I have not been keeping track of this barrier numbers or figures or that plot thread. Mm-hmm. Was there anything left in the barrier? Or has it just been down? I do not remember at all.
Well,
I don't see any numbers up there.
Yeah, exactly. He had the number that was like the hit point readout.
Yes.
On the bar, but I don't think he actually used that bar like a like a health bar or something. Maybe he intended that is supposed to be that way, but it just feels like at this point he is basically saying, okay, yeah, this thing cannot stop these guys when they are in their power. Like there was the one guy who got in through the back door with York somehow, who snuck in, and then I think the bird guy just like sort of flew through it, like he just kind of got blasted and just kept going or something. So yeah, it doesn't seem like that's really a concern anymore.
So if there's anything left in the barrier, this does not impress me in the least. Unfortunately, because of Punk Hazard. To me, what Law did was way more impressive in terms of scale. When he cut the lab and the mountains in the background and everything, that was like, holy shit. And this level does not impress me unless he's cutting through that barrier, unless the barrier is still up. If he's cutting through the barrier, then okay, yeah, that's impressive. Just because he's getting through this quote unquote impossible, to get through thing, which they've gotten through, as you've said, somehow through some means. But all of whether this is impressive or absolutely not hinges on that. And unless I properly understand that, I can't be like, wow, that was awesome. It's like, okay, that's the thing that happened, but I'm not seeing anything here that definitively shows me whether or not I should think that these characters are capable of things that we saw 12 years ago. And that's not how I want to feel about this at all. So that's why it'd be really nice to see whether he's cutting through it or not, or how much was left, etc. Yeah, but that's my 2 cents on that one.
This whole thing, this little sequence here, it strikes me as a little like Fishman Island-esque, where it feels like he is kind of yada-yadaing over some of like the details of how this stuff is supposed to work. Like it reminds me of like the air cannon shit, where you're just sort of like, okay, wait, I think you skipped a step here, Oda, or something. And that's not a great comparison to have to make. I still think, visually it looks impressive. Like setting aside, your concerns about what it says about the character's abilities. It's an impressive bit of artwork. And it definitely contributes to the overall level of chaos going on here. But, I don't know. I don't think I really had much more of a reaction to it than that.
All right. I was just, it was a sticking point for me. Like I read it and I was just like, I don't know. Oh, also I saw somebody on Twitter, I think it was the Mexican versions or Brazil versions, like Translator. I think it was the Brazilian the Brazilian version of One Piece manga translator, I believe, or editor, something like that. He mentioned like it, because it's like a data warehouse. Is Oda saying that it's the cloud?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, that's really like that's very him. Such a good conclusion to come to. So very clever if that is indeed the case.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got to say about that. That's my nothing really. And I want to avoid talking about a lot of what this means for the world. But yeah, definitely an impressive chapter and one that everybody at the workplace was talking about it. You know, every school I went to, the teachers there were just like, "Oh, did you read One Piece?" It was like that meme. It was the One Piece is crazy good this week.
Yeah,
like everywhere.
Yeah, you know, just fun fact. In a sense, now I know that everybody they use that that's an anime still, and I would guess it's probably from the subtitles if it wasn't just added directly by, you know, whoever made it into a meme or whatever. But that scene, that line, I translated that initially, was the One Piece was crazy good this week.
Get out.
No, it's Inuyashiki is the name of the series, is by the author of Gantz. And one of the characters, I translated that for Kodansha, and one of the characters, like the villain of the show, that's the villain of the show, is that teenage guy,
right?
And his whole thing is that he's like a psychopath, but he is also a huge One Piece fan, and so he does that, like, you know, the Kimutaku sort of stuff where he's like, oh my god, like One Piece is amazing, like, oh, I'm crying, you know, it's crazy good this week. And then he'll go and do some completely psychotic stuff. Yeah.
Now I knew that aspect of the series. I did not know that you translated that line.
Yeah.
May I ask then if you did some research for that? I did a little bit of reading into it and a little bit of Japanese speculation on it as well. But does that author hate Oda? Like, does he hate One Piece?
I don't know. Well, he's very he's also very sort of not self-deprecating maybe, but like he will completely make fun of himself. And so the whole thing is like the bad guy loves One Piece, but he also like talks shit about the other kid, like the son of the main character, who's an old guy in Inuyashiki. Like it's basically old man. It's Cyborg G-chan-G, basically is you know what that series is, where an old guy gets turned into a robot, and his son is like a huge Gantz fan, and so he has like posters of the author of the series, of his previous series, all over his room. And one of the lines that I have always been very proud of, that I managed to get into the manga, is everybody loves their tier rankings and stuff that they do online with those the tier maker website and stuff, and using that terminology to discuss, like, you know, who's the best characters in this fighting game and stuff like that. And so I had the bad guy say, everybody online just talks crap about Gantz because it's just full of murder and crap, and everybody says it's a shit tier manga. And so I put that in the script, and it got through. So I was very proud of that one. And the guy's like, no, it's not. It's cool. Shut up. And so, I don't know. I would not be surprised if he is, if that author has a rather cynical view of Oda, but it could just be his version of I don't know. I don't know if paying respects is the right way to say that, but it may not be a legitimate statement on what he thinks of Oda.
All right. Okay. Interesting. I read some speculation and was wondering how that is, and it remains a mystery, but that's maybe the best way.
That guy's kind of a character too. I think he's a very distinctive author. I think if you've read one of his series, you know he's not really quite like anybody else. Very strange one. Anyways, okay, so I think we've maybe hit our limit on the manga chapters. You want to answer some questions?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. This is the SGS segment where we take your questions and your theories and whatever else you want to know, and we do our best to answer them.
I just had a really good episode title, and it was off mic, so that's unfortunate.
Okay,
yeah. Sorry.
I think we got a good one. I like you said sphere of influence in the intro. I think that's a pretty good one, talking about the Vegas sphere.
Okay,
we'll see if we go with that one. All right, we will start with our Dispiece segment, where patrons on our Discord channel have an exclusive channel for the SGS where they can ask their questions to us. So if you would like to get your question read first, please check out our Patreon and get hooked up on the Discord. We will start off with Felix Cutler, who says, "Hi, SGS. Not my own theory, but I recently watched a video by Sawyer7 Mage, who had the idea that there are already 2 Plutons out there. One is sleeping somewhere deep below Wano, and the other one is in the hands of the world government and was used to annihilate Lulusia. In the introduction during NES Lobby, the elders did not seem that interested in the blueprints for Pluton." He includes the link to the video. I have not seen this video since I don't usually look at One Piece stuff on YouTube. He continues, "The broadcast must end at some point, so will the elders succeed in stopping it, or will Vegapunk deliver the name of the ancient kingdom to the world? What are your thoughts on that? The D marks the former crew members of Joy Boy, and that's why we have giants and normal people carrying the will of D." Okay, so that's a couple different things. What do you think of 2 Plutons? Does that make sense, or does that seem too convoluted to you? Because that's my first impression of that.
I am not the biggest fan of I saw X person's theory, and what do you think of it? That's kind of like my Oda thing.
Right.
Hey, I figured out the thing. Oh, okay. I do like to hear personal theories, but I'm never a fan of like, I heard this theory from this YouTuber. And but that aside, there are aspects of One Piece that make sense in real world, and some that don't have to make sense in real world. One of them that could theoretically be a real world aspect is that basically the concept of nuclear deterrence is if you have the war that is continuing, then is the reason it's in a standstill because both sides have something that could mutually annihilate one another. If you do have something like a ship, then it's possible to have, and you did have planned, like it's something that could be physically built by people. Mm-hmm. Then yes, it is entirely possible that there is another one, or there is a better built version that's out there. Basically, the question we should be asking right now is why. I'm surprised that he said that this war is still going on. Mm-hmm. Because I would have thought up until that point that there's something that Imu wants and can't get. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think it was because there is a war, but because of physical limitations, of realistic scientific biological reasons, all sorts of scientific reasons why it was impossible, because of limits of technology, limits of resources, and limits of energy. I thought that was the wall. But to suggest that this war is still ongoing is interesting. I'm not sure why it would be considered that way, unless there was some reason for there to be a standstill. To be essentially North Korea and South Korea, where it's just a truce at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't take that in too literal. I mean, I took it in more of a figurative sense, which is that like the conditions that war was about, or the things that caused that war or settled it are not, fully settled, or that like the, in other words, that the poneglyphs still exist out there, and there's some means, there's something that needs to be done, that possibly involves the entire world, as you said, and that if those things are still out there, if those means still exist, then the struggle that defined this century, this void century, is is not fully finished. But I didn't take that to mean like that there are still technically combatants out there who are duking it out.
Yeah,
or
no,
like that, right?
No, I don't see that as being the case myself. But like, how can I put it? It would seem to me up until that point that Im and whatever Im leads or is aiming towards, beyond the Elder Stars, have definitively won whatever war there was to win. The entire world has been subjected,
right?
Being subjected to submission. That's what I want to say.
Subjugated.
Subjugated. Thank you. All right, words, we can use them. But if he's suggesting that it's that the war is still going on, then Im does not seem to have what Im wants.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously some strong connection to the Nefertari family,
right? Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that all of those appearances have taught us, it's that there is some kind of very burning thing at the root of Imu's character that they clearly are obsessed with.
Yeah, I've gone in to depth with that with coworkers a lot. We talked a lot about Lily and Vivi and everything, but I just, it's interesting to see that Vegapunk would suggest that Im is not in a position of total domination, and what would be holding Im back? Is it just the lack of resources or whatever they're looking for, or is it something like 2 plutons? Is it something like having 2 nuclear weapons? Does each country have something? And what's interesting is that these countries do seem to know that they own them. Both Cobra and Sukiyaki were aware of, if not the specifics of that, then the fact that there was information that led to such devastating artifacts. Cobra obviously being aware that it was a location that he held, and Sukiyaki literally knowing that they possessed it. So I don't know why it would be suggested that he has not completely crushed the human race, or the world, as it were, not just the human race, which is interesting to me. What is holding them back? Why are they considered not at a point of total domination, despite appearing to have completely dominated the world? What do they lack? That's what I'm wondering. And so yes, the possibility of 2 plutons is certainly possible, but I also wonder if it's more of like a Uranus thing, right?
I mean, I think that is the obvious conclusion that we are pushed towards, but having not seen what Pluton looks like or what its capabilities are, anything is possible. I think my issue with this, and it is true that there's so much blank space on the canvas, chronologically speaking, that yes, there could definitely be another Pluton built, but I do feel like, just in a storytelling sense, that one of the things with the way that Oda kind of constructed the narrative around Pluton is, okay, so first we hear about, there's this thing called Pluton, and it has something to do with Alabasta, but it's not at Alabasta, it's somewhere else. And then the next thing we find out is that Frankie is in possession of the plans for Pluton, which okay, that makes sense. The government wants to be in control of that, either for corrupt reasons to build another one, or, for deterrent reasons to just make sure that it's not in the hands of anyone else. But what does Frankie do? He destroys the plans. And, I just think in terms of the way that narrative plays out, yes, you could argue that some country prior to this, centuries ago, had created another one already. But the act of Oda depicting Frankie destroying the plans is basically telling the reader, like, okay, there's not going to be more of these. Like, it's just one Pluton. And I feel, even though that's not a guarantee, I do feel like that's kind of the takeaway that I take away from that of that scene of Frankie having destroyed the plans, is that we will only ever have to worry about one of them.
Plus, Oda likes his threes. They make for an interesting conflict. Not one versus one, but three versing each other and sometimes not each other.
Yeah, and he also likes, as many mangaka do, like, okay, we create a category of a certain number of something, and if one of them gets destroyed, you have to come up with another one, because there always has to be this exact number of them, and regardless of whether it makes sense or not. And so I do feel like having a bunch of extra ones around just makes that kind of messy in a way that I don't know if Oda would like that.
To me, it would become like the pacifistas.
Yeah.
When I see pacifistas now, I'm just like, oh, okay, another pacifista. Like
right.
he got to pull it at Marineford once, where it was just like, wow, that's a lot. Mm-hmm. But now you see him, and it's just like, okay, another of the same thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to feel that way about a weapon.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because, of course, like he's not really obliged to explain, like, okay, this is the resources that it takes, so they can only build so many of these. It's just, okay, they show up and they're infinite. There's as many pacifistas as Oda wants to draw in a scene. Like, there doesn't have to be any explanation for them. It's just, this is a story device now that he can have these characters exploit. And yeah, again, for it to be special, for it to be unique, you kind of have to have one of them. You can't just have infinite, ancient weapons showing up, or undeterminate number of them. So let's move on to King Doji, who says, "Hi SGS. Obviously not the easiest question to answer, but what are some small details you always forget in the series? For example, I always forget that Absalom has a rocket launcher until I read it, although maybe that's just because I tried to forget him entirely." Well, you're kind of setting us up with a catch-22 here. Is like, what are the things that remember the things that you have always forgotten, and tell us what they are. I don't remember the things that I forget.
Wow. I'm trying to think, like, on rereads, which again we talked about last time. I've not done that many, but like, but like, what is the thing I'll read and be like, oh, that's right. Oh boy.
Man.
I get the feeling it's probably a geographical aspect of the series. Probably something, because I mapped out a lot of the islands years and years and years ago. And it's probably, I forget, like, whether something was on the west side of the island or the east side of the island. That's an interesting question, but a hard one to answer on the spot. And mine would be like some nerdy detail. Like, yours is fun, forgetting about the rocket launcher, but
yeah. I mean, on that topic of like Thriller Bark related stuff, I know that I always, my internal chronology of like what happens to Kaido or not Kaido, what happens to Gecko Moria in the story, like after he's beaten and then before you see him. Like I'm always kind of fuzzy on that sort of stuff. And a lot of times, even after I reread it, it just pops right out of my head again after I've seen it. So that's probably one of my things.
Oh, okay. I got one. So one of them, this is not terribly interesting because we just discussed it last week, but it was the Wapol slapping Vivi. Like,
oh right,
I look for that.
Yeah,
I look for that so many times and I can never find it on in one shot. Another one is where the words, where the Jump comic, where the words like Final Fantasy are hidden on a book in is that
Kureha's?
Drum Castle.
Yeah.
Yes, it's in Kureha's room, and like I'll always forget which scene it is in particular. It's always a pain in the butt to find again. There's that.
Yeah, I think that was like an infamous scene, right, where like the assistant or whoever just like really went ham writing a bunch of stuff in the books.
Harry Potter,
yeah.
The Shining, One Piece.
Yeah.
It's a ton of stuff. What else? It's got to be something from really early on. It's like, oh, Krieg actually has that weapon, or
Okay, well,
that's an interesting one to think about, but a really hard one to do. You're right, it's a catch-22.
Very difficult to answer. So let's go to Professional Poyo, who says, hey, excuse me. Hey, SGS. So I'm probably going to be dying on this hill, but I kind of hope we don't get a definitive and or scientific origin for devil fruits. To be clear, I do like that what they are metaphorically representing, i.e. the dreams of the human subconscious, but I kind of hope Oda leaves it at that. I just feel how devil fruits work is bizarre enough as is. I worry giving more definite answers than needed might ruin the fun of their creation story-wise. And yes, I know the knowledge of the water rising changes the context of the devil fruits. However, I could see this more as a use of symbolic irony on Oda's part rather than a deliberate plot point, if that makes sense. Anyways, y'all probably won't agree. Well, hold on. So I'll sit in the SGS corner of shame until told otherwise. I feel like I'm partially with you. Like I do understand kind of where you're coming from. Like I still want to know more about them, but I too, like when Vegapunk said that about, each devil fruit is the realization of a dream that someone had or something like that. It strikes me as because it's so vague and so kind of, poetic in its construction. It seems to me like, that's Vegapunk being specifically vague. Like he probably knows more about what they are and how they came about. But at that point in the story, he doesn't want to give away too much. And so I don't know that I necessarily believe that, it's just, somebody had a dream one day and then pop it, the fruit came into existence. I think there's something much more specific about them. But I don't necessarily find that answer on its own to be very satisfying. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, first of all, I have good news. I've come up with an answer to the previous question. So first I'll address that.
Okay. All
right. Is every time I reread the series, I am always surprised by the appearance of Jerry of CP5 on the train. Forget that fucker exists.
What a great character.
And I remember it, and I feel so bad every time because when that character was revealed, the dude went fucking nuts. He loved the character so much. It's so bad. It was such a massive thing on Arlong Park. It was like a meme before we had a word for memes. That was really, really, really funny. And I forget the dude is there every single time. The cough, cough, cough gets me all the time. I'm just like, what the? And it's such a hard scene to read because it's just like Sanji cough, Sanji line cough, cough, Sanji line cough, cough, cough. Anyway, so yeah, Jerry. Right, this one. We were talking about devil fruits. I think that we'll get a further explanation in terms of like this is the process of how they were made, and this is why the process of making them is controversial. Or was controversial, or caused conflict. Mm-hmm. However, I do not think we'll be talking about midichlorians, and I think that pretty much sums it up. Is I don't think we'll be getting into the science of it. I think we'll know how they were made, but not the minute detail of like, oh well, this particle was used for this and this.
Yeah,
and,
I think
a lot of it will be explained by aliens and alien technology. I think that's probably the extent that we'll go.
The futuristic tech is indistinguishable from magic. That old quote.
Yeah.
It's funny because like I know that Oda loves the prequels, and I feel fairly confident that I know a lot of the things that he likes about them, but I don't necessarily know how he would feel about midichlorians in general, but I would kind of hope
he would say it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
That's completely what he would say.
I was going to say I would hope that he would. Yeah, that he would consider that to be or like trying to give an overly detailed and logical example for stuff that is kind of pseudo magical in nature does rob it of a lot of the fun and the mystery and the magic of it. So I do agree with you there that I don't think he's going to try to construct a logical treatise on how exactly they work. There's going to be some level of hand waving involved.
Hope that answers that.
Yeah.
You're not alone, in other words.
Mm-hmm.
In the corner. We're there with you.
Yeah. I want the clear fruit. Oh, boy. Says SGS. What does SGS stand for? Does it stand for Stephen and Greg's Sex Talk, where they answer all of our sexual questions? Now, I will point out that in response to this, there is a you can respond with emojis to posts on Discord. And we have a large red X reacted by Zach Logan. So I believe that is that's our boss. He's given us the NG. We cannot answer that question. I'm sorry. We're cutting you off right there. No talk about that. Nice try though. Yeah. We'll move on to Wisdom Pythagoras, who says, now this is interesting here because I'm not sure if I noticed this. Hey, SGS, I saw a tweet from Greg the other day talking about there being Easter eggs in the live action that were not yet found, and it got me wondering which Easter eggs were your favorites. And if you can speak on it, I'd love to hear about which ones Greg contributed or how the process of hiding these things went in general. Were there any that weren't allowed? Thanks for your time, SGS.
All right. So I largely contribute to the process of the story and protecting the characters. Mm-hmm. My job basically is to retrieve a early script, look at the early script, and say this character would say that, this character would not say that. This story point is completely on point, and who are you, and do you even read One Piece? Somewhere in between those extremes. I am not involved with Easter eggs to the extent that like a like text on a wall being an Easter egg. I do not do that.
That strikes me as sort of more like a production thing, like the people doing set decorations and stuff like that, getting instructions, which is not really part of like script writing and approvals and stuff like that, right?
Well, there was an individual who was very loud and obnoxious online, saying that I was involved in Easter eggs and that was my text or something. So there were some cases where a couple people got scolded for involving individuals who should not have been involved in the kind of development of Easter eggs, or at least checking Easter eggs. But a lot of what goes into that is, I mean, it's not a joke when Tomorrow Studios says that they're fans of One Piece. The fellow who I work with at Tomorrow Studio, who I don't think anybody will ever know. I think I mentioned his name maybe once in an SGS, but that dude is as big a One Piece fan as anybody. And he and I are not in constant contact, but we are in frequent contact about characters and things. And when I give back to when I give my feedback on the scripts and the other documents, he'll always be asking me, like, well, why do you think this character would say that? Why do you think that character wouldn't say that? And a lot of why season 1 was so well protected is because of that fellow. He is a superhero, because I can say certain things, and if I get Oda's ear enough, I can allow him to, say something on my behalf. But that's super hard. But working with that fellow,
is that sorry to interrupt? Are you talking or not talking about Nick?
That
Louie.
is Nick.
Okay,
Nick
yeah.
Louie.
We had him on the
You did?
OPLA, yeah, the live action. We did interview him.
Yes. I'm not sure how much he wants to know, like how much he actually is involved or not. With that kind of specific process, but the dude is a hero. Season 1 is season 1 because Nick has been working alongside us way before writers, way before it was even it even had a distributor. And he and I for 6 years have just been back and forth about stuff. But so that's kind of how that goes. I do not have a say in Easter eggs in terms of let's put this on a wall. But maybe because a character says something, or maybe because how a character acts, or because of things like Mr. Seven, those are kind of things that I do have a part in. I don't know if I have a favorite Easter egg, but I have a least favorite Easter egg. And this is really this is one of the have you even read One Piece moments? But speaking of Zoro and Mr. Seven, there's a moment where Zoro is lighting the candles and he uses a set of matches, and it has the beast of Baltimore, right? Which is the legend of what Frankie was, right?
Yeah. During the time skip.
During the time skip, what a fucking weird thing to have, time and space breaking Easter egg for literally no reason. That was really dumb, and I did send back notes about that. I was like, you're breaking, the timeline here. That's something that technically should not exist yet, and a lot of what I do say gets through, but they were just like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why they did that, but I think they're going to keep it. So
yeah,
weird choice. That was really dumb. Actually, some of my favorite Easter egg, I guess, would be the one that's nobody found yet, or at least that I know of. Because I found it instantly on my first one of my first viewing, probably second viewing. I was just like, whoa, stop. And it was the Leo D meme from
yeah with his beard,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I asked one of the writers about it, and they were like, yep, that's what that is. And I was just like, awesome, one shot. And my second favorite is another one that nobody, probably, I don't know if they'll ever do any like special behind the scenes or like unreleased footage, but it's something from a scene that nobody will ever see, because it was redone. Interestingly enough, in the redone scene, people talked about a separate character for the same reason. But that's just a funny coincidence. But yeah, if it's not something that I can talk about online, but if we ever meet in person, maybe I can discuss it in private.
There you go. Cool. That was an interesting topic to go over. Let's go to Twitter now. You can always submit your questions just anytime you want. You can always use the hashtag SGS Sensei, all one word, no punctuation there. And we will find that. And somebody usually puts up a tweet, a reminder to send questions. So if you see that, you can always respond to that as well. So I'm going to, let's see. This is an interesting one. I don't think we answered this one. Pau Huelatini says, hello, senseis. Have any of you translated Binks Sake for your own personal reference, or do you go with the one in the manga or anime? I find fascinating the little changes and wanted to know if we're missing something from the versions we got. Have a nice week. So this is a very interesting question because technically speaking, I mean, right now, in my capacity right now, if there's any Binks Sake reference, I have to go to the Viz volume, whichever, what is that, volume 50?
50?
Yeah. And pull that out and use that, base it on that text. But once upon a time, I know some people are aware of this. Prior to working on the series officially, I just did my own text scripts, and I did cover through the beyond the Thriller Bark arc, and so I did translate Binks Sake on my own. And this holds true for what's the other the Bad End Musical, Big Mom's song, which is probably the other kind of major sing-songy style thing that Oda has written. And then there's also the Cat Viper, the Nekomamushi song, but that was by Cho and his wife. So obviously when that shows up in the manga, there's no anime, there's no music, there's no nothing. And so having done that first for Binks Sake and then, officially for Big Mom's thing, I can tell you that, like, in order to make it seem like a song, or to have, to rhyme or to have a certain rhythm to it, you have to sort of, rearrange a lot of stuff. And I often have like my own meter in my head that goes through, like, okay, this line and this line, I can make them rhyme with the same number of syllables. So it reads properly as you go through it. But then the next set, I have to use a different number of syllables because there's, it's a different amount of space or whatever, or I can't make these two words rhyme, but I can make these other two words rhyme and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of rearranging and kind of creative work that has to be done. And then once you've heard it in the anime, once it's been written and performed, and you go back and you look at that initial manga-based translation, like there's no, like, it does not resemble each other at all, because that's just the reality of songwriting in Japanese, and trying to translate that over. Lyrics are such a hard thing to do, it's, you have to be really, really talented. I think some of the best lyrical translations I can remember is actually from really old, back in the day, when Viz used to put out the video. They were the video distributor of the Ranma 1/2 anime. And, if you remember, if you've seen the old Ranma series, you'll know that, like, the one really famous intro, the yapapa, yapapa, that has the very Chinese style, and it's very catchy. And they did their subtitles. It was not dubbed in English, but they did their subtitles, and, like, you could actually kind of sing it along with the melody. Like, they had the right number of beats and everything. And, like, that's really cool to be able to do that, but it is very, very hard to do. And, with manga, there's just no way to guess how that stuff will go. So yeah, I remember doing Binks Sake, and I think the impression that I have of the version that I came up with was that it was very sort of sea shanty like that.
Friendly.
What's that?
Sea shanty friendly.
Yeah.
You could sea shanty it.
Yeah. And I don't even remember. I know I've heard it from the anime, but I have not watched. I think I stopped watching the original series around Water 7 or so. So I never actually watched all the way through to Thriller Bark. So like my memory, my mental image of the Bink Sake song doesn't really match. I wouldn't be able to hum it for you, for example. I don't know what the melody is offhand. But I'm sure it was different than the image in my head just based off of the text.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's not super fun time. But when was the release? They did a CD release for it, didn't they? They did.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I thought it was fairly close to.
It wasn't before the anime, right? It would have been after.
Boy. Oh man, I'm starting to lose some of the stuff. I'm starting to lose some of the order. It would have been about a year later, right? So yeah, the anime's a year behind, so
right.
It would have been about a year. Yeah. Okay. All right, so yes, I guess it would have been in sync with the anime, maybe. If that's right, and that's not Googling anything to check myself on that, but yeah. Wow, that's tough. Well, another one is the what is this? Tanaka is famous for saying what this sounded like. The Southern Island. Everybody on Southern Island.
Oh yeah, Luffy's song. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was that like? That's what it was. It was on stage at Jump Festa. Yeah, and they're like, I think they just let Tanaka go in the anime. I think they were just like, do your magic. And she did it, and that's what she came up with. and she was just like, well, that's what I sang. And the MC was like, oh, and is that how the song goes in your head, Oda? And he was just like, no, not at all. He just deadpan. Yeah. She got Zinda.
That's funny.
So we to this date, we don't know what the real Minami no Shima island song sounds like.
Yeah, it's a very tricky thing, and hopefully, it makes sense. I mean, I think anybody who thinks about it logically understands, like, okay, well, if the manga comes first and you have no idea, how it's going to be sung in the anime, that it's very easy for those things to end up being quite different in terms of number of syllables and the rhyming scheme and all sorts of stuff like that. Let's see. Jonathan St. Martin at King Luffy 1 says, are we ever going to get answers for what happened on Egghead in between York's betrayal and the start of the siege? Will it be covered in anime filler episodes or glossed over in an SBS, or will it somehow manage to be organically woven into a flashback? So,
can I cover this one?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Easy peasy on this one. If there is something that occurred there that is important to the overall story and the characters, then yes, we will have a flashback. What are the chances of that? I don't think very, very big, unless it's something to do with CP0 members. There is something that could have occurred there that he can go back to. I'm not saying it was like a super important event, but just an emotional beat. The other option for the anime, yes, absolutely, 100%. It's right for it. Whether the anime runs with that or not is completely, who knows? No idea. But they're always looking for some way to pad out things, and that is an excellent opportunity for it. I think they did that in Wano, did they not? I think there's several things in Wano that they covered.
Could be. I don't know. Not that I remember offhand.
He said, having not seen the anime in about 5 or 6 years. Let's see. I think those are the two big, and then not touching it at all. I would be shocked if there was something that didn't touch it at least somewhat in the anime. And the anime, I'm not saying it will go through it chronologically, but there is an opportunity for more of a kind of what you were suggesting about a flashback during that. Like, what happened during this point, or what happened here? How did this movement occur?
Yeah.
Because just what Stephen was talking about earlier about the punk records getting sliced in half, like that all has to be mapped out for the anime. Like they need to know what that movement is.
Right.
So that will be padded out even there. So yeah, I think those are your good chances. But in terms of it being in the main story, like a main story point, like this is actually what occurred during the betrayal. I don't know unless there's a massive reveal about Shaka. That's the only thing. And I know I keep clinging to this Shaka thing, but that's because it was just such a Shaka of a death.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I can remember, that I can even remember as having been a somewhat mysterious thing that was never addressed was, what was it? Like Robin was hurt. I don't think we ever actually saw that, right?
I have zero impression of that.
Yeah.
You want to know how I first reacted to that when Robin was injured? Oh, Robin's injured.
Yeah.
How did that happen? I don't remember. Next.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
That's terrible, but like with so much going on, it was very hard to keep track of, and I haven't done a reread.
You do learn to kind of roll with Oda, where it's like, okay, if this is important, he will explain it. He will tell you what the thing is that he wants you to be aware of. And so in a sense, since it's now been so long since that time skip when we came back and saw the siege happening, and have not received any answers, it is hard to say that any of that was really that important. That's just kind of how the story goes these days.
I would say, you bring up a really good point. If the anime is going to cover anything, it'll probably cover how Robin got hurt. If there wasn't some allusion to it that I'm completely missing or forgetting.
Yeah. Okay, our last thing here. Now, I did. He has repeated his questions for us. This is the thing that we did not get to last time.
All right,
and we'll see. So I'm gonna preface this ahead of time that many of these are very open ended and possibly have no good answers. So we'll just see what we do. This is from the Man with a Million Questions at Champagne Bala. And so here is his list. I'll go through them one at a time. So the first question is, what island will be after Elbaf? Well, let's see. Probably Laughdale, or whatever the stepping stone is to get to Laughdale.
Well,
Lodestar Island or whatever, what it's called.
Can I do short answers only?
Sure.
All right. The island after Elbaf will be the next island.
The next island. Okay.
Okay, and really quick, I won't explain it, but I'll go through it. I would say that the island after Elbaf, I really want to say the moon, but let's just keep things grounded a little bit here. I don't know. Does it? I don't know that it has to be an island. I want to just say that.
Okay. Answering a question with a question. Very nice. Okay. Who is the burn scar Hinokizu Lily in parentheses, and when will they appear? Well, I can tell you one thing. I don't think it's going to be Lily because it was described as the man with the burn scar. So unless you want to really get twisty with it and say that Lily is still alive and also had the hormone fruit effects, that seems unlikely.
I mean, Demolo Black is masquerading as Kid right now. Doesn't Kid have the scarred?
Scar. I don't know if that's a burn scar though. A fire scar.
We don't know, so maybe you know what? Regarding burn scar, I had if it's somebody that we know, I did have this is a completely unsatisfying answer, by the way. Sorry in advance. I had an idea that I thought was like, oh, that's interesting. And I've completely forgotten who it was. My guess right now, for me, would be the most interesting is it's somebody that we haven't met.
Yeah, I don't think it's somebody we've met before.
However, then maybe this is what it was, but perhaps the person with the burn scar is indeed the person. This is exactly what it was. Is perhaps the pirate with the eye patch? What if it's the pirate with the eye patch?
Yeah,
the most piratey pirate that ever pirated.
Yes, it might be too obvious for some people, but I do feel like if it's anyone, it's going to turn out to be Rox or something. Like he's still alive.
Yeah. Rox still being alive. Because how did remember what Oda said? Is,
there's a living legend in the world somewhere.
Hisondeiru.
Yes,
and that Hisondeiru is lurking is very open ended, which is classic freaking Oda for you.
Yeah.
Is Rox around? And has Rox been stripped of any powers, if he had powers? And is that why this individual is still around and not causing havoc? And I think I even offered the idea that, like, what if Rox was a former gum fruit user? And what if he had those removed?
Yeah. Interesting. Who will be Luffy's opponent in Elbaf?
Loki.
Ooh, interesting. I had not thought of Loki as being a primary antagonist.
That comes into my whole mom thing, which is annoying and complicated, and I've beaten it to death. So we'll just leave it there.
Sure. Okay, this one, I do not remember this at all. Okay, who will be the 4 gods named in Shandora? If this was something that was brought up in Skypiea, then I feel embarrassed because I just read that a couple months ago, and I do not remember there being 4 gods. Does this sound familiar to you?
I don't know. Is it something to do with I don't remember if it was mentioned during the flashback or
I mean, chances are it probably was if it was anywhere.
Flashback or it also seems like something, and again, I'm not Googling this. I could cheat, but I'm not going to do that. I don't remember if it was something that was like a throwaway, right? Like they're going to the trials, and they're like, they're set to the trials of the blah blah blah.
I
don't know, something like that. But I do know that they did mention a god, right? And like the Shishigami was like one of their gods. Kashigami, thank you. Yeah. Shishigami is fucking Princess Mononoke.
Yes.
Kashigami was one of their gods. I am personally, so this is a non-answer, but I am personally looking forward to why did they have a monkey idol? That is always something that stood out to me, and it's one of those things that Oda kind of just dropped. So like, why was that such an important symbol to them? It could be something that was just like, he was like, it's a drop plot line or something like that. But I do hold that up there with Luffy closing one eye on the volume 27 cover, as being something
deep
that I do feel he could return to it someday.
Interesting.
That volume 27 cover with the blink and the angel wings on Luffy is just, that drives me nuts.
Okay. Who has each of the 12 supreme swords? All right, go.
Okay, I saw this question last night and my heart sank. I just but I did think up an interesting answer to one of them. At least I think it's interesting. I bet anything that there is at least one person who owns a sword, one of the swords, who is just like the complete like derpiest, like clodist, oafish character who should not have this thing by any means, but it has somehow come into their possession, and they own it, and they think they're such a badass because they own it. I feel like Oda would have at least one of those thrown in there.
Yeah, probably celestial dragons. Like they came by it somehow. They bought it in an auction or whatever. Oh, check out what I got! Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got to be at least one where the person who has it does not have any business owning something like that. I would love to see that.
I agree. That's fun. Yeah, I have zero answer to that one, so we'll just go to will we go to Lodestar?
Lodestar to? No,
Yes.
what was it?
Lodestar Island, something like that. And that was, if I'm recalling the details correctly, that was the place where Roger wound up originally and saw the like, hey, here's a mystery I didn't know about, and then then they went back around.
It's the final island that's not the final island. It's like the Ishume final island.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, before New Game
It depends what it looks like. What the island is shaped like. How can geographically speaking, how can the island be an interesting setting? Like, do we want to set part of our war there?
Yeah.
Then if so, does it make a good stage? Because you could have the war there,
right,
and have that be the offshoot point for where we get to Raftel or get to the final destination.
Yeah.
Especially with my theory that the war is not going to be in one place. But yeah, if it's I mean, they don't. I don't know if they need to, because they already have the poneglyphs, in their possession. But it depends whether or not going to Lodestar is part of getting to Raftel or not.
Right. Yeah, I think they will, and I like that idea that would be the kind of the final battleground.
It would be interesting to me if that's where there is a method of aerial or perhaps
space
astronomical transport, especially with star. I mean, obviously it's the word Lodestar, but like with thinking about how Oda would think about it in Japanese.
Yeah.
Is that another one? Holy shit. Oh, I hate myself so badly. Oh, what if it's not Lodestar, but what if it's Roadstar? Oh my God, I hate myself.
I've already had this second guessing about whether they should be the road poneglyphs or the LODE poneglyphs. So yeah, let's not ask too many questions.
Oh my God, how killer would that be? Fucking twice in a row, Oda with his namings. Raftel, Laughtail, Lodestar, Roadstar. Oh my God. Fuck,
it's like, no,
Oda.
it's Roadster. They're gonna take a
Roadster. They're gonna take a
cool drag car.
Roadstar.
All right.
Rosebud. Okay.
Okay. Next one. How will Egghead end?
Never. We're just going to end the series. We're just going to keep going. He's going to keep talking. And he's going to make another pot of coffee.
Yeah.
I think by fall, we'll be in Elbaf at least. We got to be kicking off pretty soon.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. As for how it will end, well, the Straw Hats are going to get away. I'm going to say that. Put me down for that one. I still haven't decided if it's going to be like, are they going to deal some kind of significant or even decisive blow against the Five Elders, like, with the giant, perhaps? Is it going to have a real shocker of an ending in that sense? Or, are they is it going to be kind of more like usual where, okay, we're escaping by the skin of our teeth and they're on our tail and we got to rush to Elbaf?
You know what? That's a good point. In order for there to be enough drama at Elbaf and for them to not get everything they want and just be on easy street, they would have to take out Dory and Brogy.
The five elders.
Yeah, Oda could. He could. It's his world. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He can have them get out of there with Dory and Brogy, but it's a great opportunity for him to make the Straw Hats' lives tougher at Elbaf and have that kind of resetting to level 1. Losing all your capabilities in God of War 2.
right.
It's easier for him by several levels to have Dory and Brogy taken out here at Egghead. So would they sacrifice themselves?
Right. Yeah,
would they be the shield? Would they be the sword and shield that defend Luffy, setting him off?
Oof. It's like I hate to see it, but man, it works really well.
Yeah.
Oof.
That would be 2 birds in one stone. That would literally be 2 birds in one stone for Oda if he does that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And speaking of birds, last question here. Does Morgan's human form matter? So are we going to find out, is Morgan's identity going to matter? Is it going to be someone that we know already? I guess that's the one way to put that.
Have we seen anybody who dresses like that?
Oh, I would have no idea.
I mean, there have been plenty of background characters that dress like that.
Right.
But have there been many named characters that dress like that? I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think... I just think it's another... what's his name? Killer. It's another killer thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't really matter, but like the mystery that surrounds it is like more interesting for Oda to keep it a mystery.
Sure.
As long as he can. As long as he can milk it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do feel like some of us, like Zach in particular, has been very vocal. He does not like the albatross fruit thing. Like, he just wants Morgan's to be a bird. And I kind of agree.
Person?
Yeah, I kind of agree that I think the more you explain that, the less fun he becomes.
I like that he keeps in the trend of like turning into the animal form itself proper. It's like it's scaled up to like a human turning into something of that size. It just sounds really strange. Like you don't turn into, if you're like a rat, I don't know, devil fruit. You don't turn down. You don't like shrink down. You don't usually shrink down to the size of a rat. Like when you go full transformed mode, you're usually equivalent size to like what a human would be if they turned into the thing.
Yeah.
And he it's not a hard set rule, but he does it a lot for the characters. Like, it even fits for the Tontata, because like they're small, but they don't turn into literal insect size, right? They're basically giant bees and whatever they are.
Yeah. Stag beetles and stuff.
Yeah. So I do like it. It's fair game. It's fair game that Morgan's was huge. He did look like a bird person race. And I was very excited over that for a long time. But finding out that he was a devil fruit was a bit of a downer. But it makes sense with the zones that we've seen to this point of being that size. I don't know if that explains it or not, but like it the shoe fits. It was right for it.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm leaning against him having an identity that matters. So I will respect him if he stays in bird form forever. Let's put it that way. Okay.
He will be a bird person forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Stussy!
Man, I can't wait to see Morgan's wedding. That's going to be a great season ender there. Okay. I think that is it for our questions. And hey,
we did it. All right.
We're coming up on 2 hours anyway, so I think that sounds like an episode for me. Why don't we round this thing off?
Okay.
This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 821 for the week of Monday, June 10th, 2024. Another successful SGS in the books. That was fun.
That was super fun. Yeah. And I made it through.
Made it, yeah.
Every glass swallowing shard.
All right, well, we'll let you go soon so you can get some lozenges and some soothing tea and whatever.
I got to go to ABC Mart.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. That's a callback. Okay, so coming up, the manga will return next week, and we have some special guests coming onto the show. We are going to have Sailor Victoria, who is the host of the Sailor Moon fan club, is going to be joining us. That is very exciting. And we are also going to have the return of Alan Ortega, game dev, who it's been a couple years. I forget the last time we had him on, but yeah, he was a regular guest for a little while there, probably early Wano, I would guess. So looking forward to his return, and that should be real exciting with the manga returning. So you just gotta throw them into the gauntlet of character voices and remembering old characters and see how well they do. That's always fun.
I dig Sailor Moon. I signed Save Our Sailors.
What?
Do you remember the Save Our Sailors campaign?
Oh, Save Our Sailors.
SOS?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. What was that?
Whoa. Okay. All right. In the early days of the internet, there was a run of Sailor Moon on U.S. television.
Yeah, that was
the DEEK version,
the 90s, right?
And it ran up through, I think, Sailor Moon R or the Yeah. I think initially, I think there were some more produced for Canada, but they were never aired in the U.S. And the U.S. fans got together and started a campaign called Save Our Sailors. And it was a petition. It was one of the early petitions out there, and what inspired me to make the Dragon Ball Z petition to get more episodes. To get more episodes of Sailor Moon broadcast in the U.S. And it was a pretty big movement. It was pretty huge. And as it turns out, my friend from my high school classmate, my middle school to high school classmate, his sister, who is literally a rocket scientist, was one of the founding members of Save Our Sailors. Yeah.
That was back when they called her Bunny, right, instead of Usagi. I think that's where that came from.
No. That was the manga, right? The manga called.
Was that
Bunny.
only the manga? Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
she was
okay.
Serena in the TV
that's
show.
right. Yeah.
Serena and Darien.
Interesting.
I did not get up every morning at 6:00 to watch it before going to school.
It's funny because they just put out Naoko Takeuchi art book. My wife just got it. We spent an afternoon flipping through it just like the other week. So I'll have to bring that up when we have Sailor Victoria on.
I mean, you want to talk about a power couple? Mm-hmm. Like Oda's impressive. Like Oda's really impressive.
Yeah,
but imagine you're Yu Yu Hakusho and Hunter x Hunter,
right?
And Sailor Moon.
Yeah,
that Kakute Shinkoku has got to be one hell of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of purchasing power there between the two of them. Well,
sorry, this has been the SGS.
Yes, it has.
Stephen and Greg talk Sailor Moon.
Yeah, this is for Sailor Moon. All right, well, yes, that's what we'll have coming back next week. Until then, where can they find you, Greg?
You can't. Sorry.
Nope.
I'm hiding. No. I'm still on Twitter at Ochimusha108, And I write for One Piece at one-piece.com. And yeah, that's about it.
Cool. And you can see my my reread pictures and commentary and whatnot over on Blue Sky at stephenpaul.bsky.social. Right in the thick of Thriller Bark right now. That has been fun. And the podcast, of course. I mean, you know where to find us. We're at One Piece Podcast on just about any social media. Look for us, you'll find us. And yeah, I guess 3, 6, 7, 4, and 7 Maji, whatever it is. Calling time. With your comments, your theories, and your reasons why Steven should probably memorize this stuff before attempting it. Yep. Just going to roll with that. Thanks, everybody. We're at 2 hours now. I've hit my limit. I can't host a show any longer than 2 hours.
Brain off.
Yeah, brain off. That's right. We're gonna continue with our day. I got to go watch some video game trailers because it's Summer Game Fest, and I want to see. Yep, that's right.
I wanted to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds, and I think there's a trailer for it today.
Well,
I think there's new gameplay or like something like that. Oh my god.
We'll have to catch up next time.
Now. All right.
Next time on the SGS, maybe it'll be SGG. We'll do the Steven and Greg game section. We'll talk about that for once. All right. Anyways, I think we've gone on long enough. My name is Steven.
And I'm Greg.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks.